Look closely at this ancient Roman family portrait. The Emperor Septimius Severus is still visible. Beside him sits his powerful wife, Julia Domna. One son remains. But where the second son's face should be, there is only a dark, violent wound. This was no accident. Someone deliberately scraped him out of his own family. His name was Geta. He inherited the Roman Empire beside his older brother, Caracalla. Within a year, Geta was dead. His portraits were destroyed. His name was cut from monuments, and even remembering him could make a person dangerous. Caracalla did not simply want his brother killed. He wanted the world to behave as though Geta had never existed. But the attempt to erase him created the very evidence that keeps his story alive. This is the story of two brothers who inherited the greatest empire on earth, a mother trapped between them, and an emperor who discovered that murder can silence a man, but cannot always destroy his memory. The brothers were born into a family built for ambition. Their father, Septimius Severus, was not born into Rome's old ruling aristocracy. He came from Leptis Magna in Roman North Africa. In the chaos that followed the murder of Emperor Commodus, Severus fought his way to the throne. By 197 CE, he had defeated his major rivals and founded a new imperial dynasty. Their mother, Julia Domna, came from Emesa in Roman Syria. Intelligent, educated, and politically influential, she traveled with the imperial court and became one of the most powerful women in Roman history. Their first son was born in 188. Today he is remembered by the nickname Caracalla, taken from a Gallic-style cloak he later made fashionable. Their second son, Geta, followed in 189. They were separated by less than a year, raised inside the same palace and prepared for the same world of command. That closeness did not create affection. Ancient writers describe a rivalry that began while they were young and hardened as their titles increased. We should be cautious. Most surviving accounts were written by men who disliked Caracalla or judged him after his death. They may exaggerate private scenes, but the official record confirms the dangerous structure their father created. In 198, Severus elevated Caracalla to the senior rank of Augustus. Geta received the junior title of Caesar. Then, around 209, Geta was also made Augustus. Rome now had 3 emperors, the father and both sons. The promotions were meant to secure the dynasty. Instead, they gave 2 hostile brothers competing courts, competing supporters, and equal reason to fear the future. Severus tried to bind them together through duty. In 208, the imperial family traveled to Britain, where Roman forces were campaigning beyond Hadrian's Wall. Caracalla gained military responsibilities. Geta helped administer affairs from Iberacum, modern York, alongside Julia Domna. The northern campaign offered the brothers a common enemy, but it did not solve the enemy inside the family. In February 211, Septimius Severus died at York. Later tradition credited him with one final instruction to his sons: remain united, enrich the soldiers, and ignore everyone else. Whether those were his exact words or not, the warning captured the crisis he was leaving behind. The brothers inherited an empire stretching from Britain to Egypt and from Spain to Syria. They possessed extraordinary wealth, vast armies, and the loyalty attached to the Severan name. But Rome had also inherited 2 emperors who could barely remain in the same room. Caracalla and Geta left Britain and returned toward Rome carrying their father's ashes. According to the historian Herodian, they avoided sharing lodgings and refused to eat at the same table, because each feared poison. Even if the details were sharpened for drama, their later behavior shows that their mutual suspicion was real. Inside the imperial palace, their households were reportedly separated. Doors and passages were guarded. Officials were forced to consider which brother they served. Meetings required security, and Julia Domna became the fragile bridge between two rival courts. This was more than a family argument. Every disagreement threatened the machinery of government. A petition, military appointment, or provincial decision could become a test of loyalty. Rome had two rulers but no stable center. One ancient account claims that the brothers considered dividing the empire. Caracalla would rule Europe and the western provinces, while Geta would control the wealthier east. Julia Domna supposedly rejected the plan, asking whether they intended to divide their mother as well. Modern historians cannot be certain that this proposal reached a serious political stage, but the story reveals how contemporaries understood the danger. The Roman world itself seemed too small for both brothers. Caracalla was the elder and already popular with sections of the army. He cultivated the image of a hardened soldier emperor, sharing the routines of the troops and honoring the memory of Alexander the Great. Geta developed his own supporters among administrators, courtiers, and members of the elite. Neither brother could simply retire. In Roman imperial politics, surrendering power did not guarantee safety. A former emperor or rival heir could become a symbol around whom enemies gathered. As long as Geta lived, Caracalla could never be certain that senators, soldiers, or officials would not choose him instead. And as long as Caracalla lived, Geta faced the same threat. Fear turned compromise into weakness. Their joint reign lasted only months. Ancient sources report attempted plots before the final attack, including a plan connected with the festival of Saturnalia. The precise sequence remains disputed. What is clear is that by December 211, Caracalla had chosen sole rule, and Geta stood in the way. The final trap exploited the only person Geta still trusted enough to meet without his full guard, their mother. Julia Domna was asked to arrange a private reconciliation in her apartments. To Geta, the meeting may have appeared to offer one last opportunity to end the crisis. It took place in a space associated with their mother, away from the public ceremony of the throne room. He entered without the protection that normally surrounded him. Then, armed men appeared. The ancient historians Cassius Dio and Herodian describe Geta running toward Julia Domna and dying in her arms as he begged for help. Later retellings added vivid dialogue, but no transcript can survive from such a room. The central event, however, is accepted. Geta was killed in the palace on Caracalla's orders, and Julia Domna witnessed the murder of one son arranged by the other. Geta was about 22 years old. Julia was wounded during the attack, according to Dio. Yet she was forbidden to display public grief. She remained beside the surviving emperor because imperial families did not experience tragedy in private. Every tear could be interpreted as disloyalty. Caracalla moved immediately to control the story. He went to the Praetorian Guard and claimed that he had escaped a conspiracy. The soldiers were promised financial rewards. Their support mattered more than the approval of a horrified Senate. Geta's death was followed by a purge. Cassius Dio gives the enormous figure of 20,000 people killed or targeted because of their connection to Geta. The exact number cannot be verified and may be exaggerated, but the repression was unquestionably extensive. Friends, officials, and suspected sympathizers became liabilities. Even jokes, casual remarks, or visible grief could be treated as political evidence. Caracalla now ruled alone, but killing Geta did not remove him from coins, inscriptions, statues, and public memory. For years, Rome had announced that both sons represented the future of the dynasty. Their faces appeared together. Their names stood beside their fathers on monuments across the empire. If Caracalla wanted to present himself as the only legitimate heir, his brother's official existence had to be dismantled. The Roman Senate condemned Geta's memory. Historians commonly describe the punishment with the Latin phrase damnatio memoriae. a condemnation of memory. It was not always one fixed legal procedure, but the physical consequences were unmistakable. Workers chiseled Geta's name from inscriptions, sculptures were removed or altered, portraits were attacked. On the arch of Septimius Severus in Rome, wording associated with Geta was replaced so that the monument could continue praising the dynasty without acknowledging the murdered son. Across the empire, people were forced to edit the recent past, and in a small painted family portrait now known as the Severan Tondo, someone obeyed. The faces of Severus, Julia Domna, and Caracalla survived. Geta's face was scraped away. The family remained, but the murdered brother became a wound. Caracalla's victory was complete in one sense. He controlled the government, the treasury, and the army. Geta could issue no orders, attract no supporters, and challenge no succession. In 212, Caracalla introduced one of the most consequential measures in Roman history, the Constitutio Antoniniana, which extended Roman citizenship to nearly all free inhabitants of the empire. Ancient critics accused him of seeking more taxpayers, while modern scholars debate a wider mixture of political, religious, and administrative motives. He also cultivated the soldiers with increased pay and presented himself as a tireless campaigner. His reign was not defined only by the murder of Geta, yet the murder shaped the way ancient writers interpreted almost everything that followed. Caracalla traveled widely and rarely settled comfortably in Rome. He pursued campaigns on the German frontier and later in the East. Fascinated by Alexander the Great, he copied aspects of the Macedonian conqueror's image and dreamed of military glory. But he could not command loyalty everywhere. In 217, while campaigning near Carrhae in Mesopotamia, Caracalla stopped beside the road. A soldier named Martialis approached and stabbed him. The emperor, who had eliminated his brother, died without a legitimate son to continue his line. The Praetorian prefect Macrinus soon took the throne. Julia Domna, who had survived her husband's death, her son's hatred, and Geta's murder, died not long afterwards. The dynasty continued through other members of her Syrian family, but the dream of Severus, that his two sons would preserve the house together, had ended in blood. Caracalla's order also failed in a deeper way. Erasing Geta's face did not make observers forget him. It made them ask who had been removed and why. Every damaged inscription became evidence. Every altered monument preserved the outline of political violence. The empty space carried a name. This is the paradox of destroying memory. Removal can become a form of remembrance. Had Geta died quietly as an obscure young co-emperor, he might have become a footnote. Because Caracalla attacked his image across the Roman world, Geta became one of history's clearest examples of a ruler condemned after death. We should still resist turning the story into a simple legend of a good brother and an evil brother. The surviving sources tell us little about what Geta might have done with sole power. Both men were products of a political system in which relatives could become rivals, and rivals rarely survived. But Caracalla made the decisive choice. Unable to share authority, he solved the problem through murder. Unable to tolerate his brother's memory, he tried to control the past as completely as he controlled the present. Nearly 18 centuries later, the Severan family portrait still survives. 3 faces look outward, the 4th is missing. And because it is missing, we remember Geta. Caracalla killed his brother. Rome erased his name. But history noticed the scar.